Alright, guys. So, welcome to Gerard's Daily Mapping. First of all, sorry for the delay of sending the mapping for today, but let's get into the next few hours of what's going to get to go. So, first of all, let's understand why did this spike happen all the way up. So, this was potentially a buy zone earlier at 1761, 1760, but this was only an M15 setup for the buy. So as long as M15 stayed above this zone, price would fly all the way up. So first of all, the first zone that price needs to break has been broken, which means that price has closed above 1765.6, which means that right now we still have the buy that is valid from the M15, and we are looking at the nearest level of resistance for M15. So the next level of resistance is at 1769.3. So this is potentially where it can reject. And from that moment, if price managed to close below this gray zone for the M15 time frame, we might see price rejecting from there. At least we might get another 30 to 40 pips at least. Okay, if price rejects from that zone. And if price rejects from that zone, we are only looking at M15 right now. So the buy is happening, the buy is pushing price into the level of resistance, which price should retest 1769.25. So that's looking only at M15. Let's start looking at M30. So there isn't much of a buy of M30 as I saw earlier. It is just a demand zone. So this demand zone can retest the highest of this level, which is at 1771. That is the highest of M30 level of resistance. So as you guys can see, the M15 was somewhere around this zone, and the M30 level is slightly higher. It's at 1771. So for me, if I would want to take the sell based on the M15, you can start looking at 1769. But if you want to be taking the sell from M30, you can start looking at 1771.9. That is the first M30 selling zone that you need to take. So let's just say that price reject the zone, we might see price being pushed back down all the way. But if price rejects and fly above, so you guys need to know that there are higher zones of the M30 waiting for us. First, starting from this guy over here, 1776, and the next one that price would go is retesting the high of 1785. So this is going to be a very key area where price needs to decide if it wants to break or respect. So that's why today I would say that the buy that happened from M15 was the first high risk buy that could happen. So any selling along the way would be from the M30 zone or the M15 zone. These are the two zones currently that we have. So if you look at H1, there isn't also any buying zone because all the buyers down here has been broken, and there are only retracement buyers in the market right now. But let's look at where the potential first zone that H1 can reject. Because if you're looking at the left, this area of supply, there isn't much of buyers, sellers waiting over here. So the only sellers are starting from this zone, I would say. So this is also quite high up, and nope, not so many sellers waiting over here, which I feel like for the H1 time frame, the sellers could be waiting at least over here. So this is the first zone that sellers needs to be waiting in from the H1 time frame. Because if you're looking from the H1 time frame, this from this lower zone to the higher zones is pretty empty. There isn't any sellers from the H1. So that's why I was looking at it, and I feel like price needs to at least come back to this zone. So from here, it might reject to the retracement of H1. So if H1 is that zone above, there might be short retracements of M30 and M15 in these zones that I've marked earlier. But let's start looking at higher zones of M15 where it coincides with the H1 as well. Right, so these zones, if I'm looking at the M15, there isn't a seller waiting over here. The only seller there is slightly higher, I would say. this is a better zone for the sell. So guys, this is it. Remember, we are looking at time frame 15 minutes right now. Price rejected from the buy. As I said, we are expecting price to at least retest 1769.2, which is our M15 level of resistance. From that moment, if price manage to close below that zone, then we might see an M15 level being respected, and we might see rejection down into the lower zones. But if price breaks higher than that price, then the potential for it to fly is higher. So it will definitely test the next zone, which is the M30 of 1770.9. And if this zone is broken, we might see higher zones being tested as well. So 1775, 1776.